All right, in this explainer, we're diving into a pretty wild claim from a YouTube video. It's this. If Donald Trump goes to the World Economic Forum in 2026, he's not going there to talk. He's going to deliver, and these are the source's words, the terms of surrender to the so-called globalist system. So let's break down exactly what this video is arguing. So the video kicks things off by looking at how the media talks about all this. You see headlines like this one from the New York Times focusing on international law. But the video says, hold on, that's not what this is really about. According to them, focusing on the law is a distraction. They claim the real concern is something way, way bigger. And here's the core of their argument. It's not about laws. It's about the entire globalist system. The video's whole point is that this trip to Davos wouldn't be just another meeting. It would be the grand finale of a long, planned-out campaign to take that system apart piece by piece. Trump would just be there to, deliver the final blow. Now, the video paints a really vivid picture of this showdown. It says, forget the old saying about walking into the lion's den. In this version of the story, Trump is the lion. And he's not showing up alone. Oh no. The video claims he'd be bringing what it calls his demolition crew. And this is the team that video lays out. Each person, it claims, has a very specific job. You've got Howard Lutnick and Robert Greer, who are supposedly there to signal the end of outsourcing. Then there's Treasury Secretary Bessent, who the source says would be tasked with going after global money flows. And Chris Wright? He's presented as the guy meant to take on the whole green energy agenda. And Steve Witkoff is there as a key confidant. A real wrecking ball of a team, according to this video. Okay, so we've heard this term globalist system a bunch now, but what does the source video actually mean by that? Well, to get their definition, we have to go back in time, because they tie it all to the very beginnings of the World Economic Forum. Okay, check this out. The video points to the year 1971. That's when the Bretton Woods financial system gets taken apart. And what else happens in 1971? The World Economic Forum is launched. The video says that is not a coincidence. It argues this was all a deliberate plan, a handoff of power from actual governments to massive global corporations. And the video goes even deeper down this rabbit hole. It connects the founder of the WEF, Klaus Schwab, to Henry Kissinger, who was apparently his mentor at Harvard. And then it makes this pretty big claim, that Kissinger was more loyal to the British Foreign Office than to his own US State Department. The whole point is to tie the WEF's very DNA to what the source calls a British imperial system. So, to back all this up, the video pulls out this quote. It's from Julian Huxley, the very first head of UNESCO, and the source presents this as like Exhibit A. They want you to read this and see it as proof of a long-running plan to weaken individual nations and shift power over to these big world organizations. Right, so according to the video, this whole showdown at Davos wouldn't be happening in a vacuum. The fight has already started. They argue that a major offensive against this international system is already underway, what the source calls laying down covering fire before the main event. And what's the first shot fired in this offensive? Well, the source wants you to focus on one number: 66. That's how many international organizations, conventions, and treaties the video claims the US has pulled out of. 66. Okay, so why is that number a big deal? To explain it, the video points to a quote it attributes to Marco Rubio. The idea here is to reframe these organizations. They're not about cooperation, the argument goes. Instead, they're part of a sprawling architecture of global governance that's really just there to help elite networks and, crucially, to hold America back. So if you put it all together, the video argues you're looking at a deliberate three-pronged attack. First, smashing offshore money laundering. Second, pulling out of all those international groups we just talked about. And third, and this is a big one, turning the investigation inward to go after the money networks right here at home. And that brings us right back home to what the source calls the domestic front. The video's argument is that this global war is also being fought on American streets, and it claims that what you see on the news is basically just a smokescreen to distract you from the real battle. Here's the idea. The media wants you looking at the chaos on the streets, the riots, the shootings. But the video says, don't look there. Look at who's paying for it. It insists the real target isn't the protesters, but the financial engine behind them. All the nonprofits and foundations that it alleges are bankrolling the whole thing. And for proof, the source points to an announcement from Treasury Secretary Bessent. It claims he's unleashed the Treasury's enforcement arm to launch a massive investigation. The goal? To literally follow the money all the way from these huge global foundations down into the bank accounts of local activist groups. And get this, The video stresses that this isn't just some small, one-off thing. It quotes Bessent directly, saying that the techniques they're using in Minnesota are just the beginning, the genesis for a national rollout. Basically, they're framing this as a blueprint for a nationwide operation to take apart these funny networks all across the country. Okay, let's just zoom out for a second and look at the huge picture this video is painting. It's taking all these different things, foreign policy, domestic investigations, and connecting them all as individual battles in what it calls the real war. And this brings us full circle, right back to that idea of international law. The source just completely throws that concept out the window. It argues that this whole system was never about being fair or working together. It was a cage built for one purpose: to trap America inside a global system that was designed by and for someone else. So if the system is a cage, well, then according to this video, what's happening now isn't just rattling the bars. It's taking a jackhammer to the very foundations of that cage. It's a powerful metaphor, and it really sums up the video's view that this is about total demolition, not reform. And so this is where the source leaves you. It frames this huge global financial fight as the real war. And in doing that, it wants you to ask yourself a question. If that's the real war, then what is the play-by-play distraction? What are the stories and the headlines that are designed to keep your eyes off of what it says is the main event?